Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Azura and today I'm talking to you about the latest limited time mode at the time of writing and recording this video in League of Legends. Swarm, Operation Anima Squad. So, what is this mode about? And what can you expect from it? Well, join me as I go through the basics of the game and I share my own little opinion at the end. So, let's get to it, shall we? Swarm, in its simplest explanation, is a Vampire Survivors-esque game with a coat of League of Legends paint. You can choose from 9 different legends and play on 4 different maps, each with their own unique gameplay mechanics and their own bosses. The 9 champions that are available are listed as such: Jinx, Seraphine, Leona, Illaoi, Briar, Yasuo, Riven, Aurora, and Xayah. Alongside these characters are several more items that you can mix and match with several different augments that scale off of various things, ranging from damage to XP. Along with this amount of variety, not only is it extremely fun, but it also offers a boatload of replayability, because you never know if you get a really good run one game, or you don't make it past 3 minutes in the second game. Swarm's 4 maps, and unlocking them is relatively simple. You beat the first map, and you unlock the next map, you beat that map, you unlock the map afterwards, and so on and so forth. Rinse and repeat until you eventually beat the last map. The maps in question are the Warehouse District, a urban city-esque district with a healing pad in the middle, making it so if you're low on health, you have a place to go to make sure you and your squad stay alive. The Outskirts, its unique gameplay mechanic, makes it so you take batteries to an autocannon that help you clear out the horde that is currently swarming you. It's a very powerful asset to have, and honestly, I would say use it wisely. Subterranean Lab is an interesting one. It has 2 points of interest, and those both are freezing. Those are freezing points. Essentially, you stand in it, and sort of like the Warehouse District's healing ring, stand in it for long enough, and it will emit a pulse of freezing ice, stunning every enemy in its path, in its relative area, making so if you're feeling overwhelmed and you need to dial it back a bit, you can. And the Beachhead, well, the Beachhead is a special case, and you'll just have to find out what its entire gimmick is. Each of these maps have a singular boss fight that appears at 15 minutes. Defeat them and you win. If you don't, well, you die. Duh. The 4 bosses at the end of each map goes as follows: Rek'Sai for the Warehouse District, Briar for the Outskirts, Bel'Veth for the Subterranean Lab, and Aatrox for the Beachhead. Most of these bosses have bullet hell style mechanics and insanely large health pools, so when you do get to them, you should be able to take them down with relative ease if you have any form of an optimal build in a short amount of time, because if it reaches 20 minutes, they gain a permanently enraged state, where not only do they hit harder, but their cooldowns become lower. So essentially they can dish out more attacks faster and hit harder. So take them down quickly, guys. Moving on to the more fun elements of its gameplay is its progression and roguelike mechanics. Swarm at its very core is a roguelite experience that is extremely replayable thanks to its progression and upgrade system. As you play the game mode and complete various challenges, you'll unlock new characters and upgrades as you go along. From a simple health upgrade to being able to unlock the augments required to evolve weapons, you have a wide variety of combos to mix and match and experiment with. As you complete all the maps and as you acquire upgrades, you'll become stronger, until eventually you beat the base difficulty and unlock the next difficulty. Rinse, repeat, until you eventually beat everything with every character on the hardest difficulty. That is if you're a completionist, of course. I know sometimes people just want to play the game, be mindless, run around and shoot stuff. And that's perfectly fine. You'll eventually find what character synergizes with the best, with what items and augments, leading to optimal builds, damage, and performance. Most of it is trial and error, like most roguelite/roguelike games, so keep at it and you'll eventually find something that works for you. And thanks to its RNG-esque elements, not every run is the same. Sometimes you get the god run, the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme, and sometimes you just get absolute slop. Luckily, you can unlock rerolls that help mitigate the RNG a little bit, and if you burn your rerolls and you still don't get what you want, well, you're shit out of luck there, to be honest. Anyway, speaking of figuring things out and finding what playstyle works for you, the one thing we should talk about are the 9 champions that are playable themselves. Let's find out what they're about, shall we? I'm going to rapid fire this because I really don't feel like taking forever on it. Jinx mainly scales off of ability haste with her main signature weapon. E fires a wide rocket barrage and her ultimate is a true damage execute. Built like a glass cannon and plays like a glass cannon. You build Jinx right and you'll cleave through literally everything. Just don't get caught out, because as fast as you can delete enemies, enemies can delete you just as fast. Seraphine has a 25% chance to multicast projectiles as her passive, making anything that scales with projectile count insanely strong for her. Her E is her shield that provides a massive AoE speed buff, and her ult is a screen-wide stun during casting, making her extremely versatile in peeling for her carries if needed. And believe me, if you are playing on the higher difficulties and you have a synergy, Seraphine will come in clutch. Leona. Her size scales with her defense augments, and thrives with anything defense-based item-wise. Her E is, well, it's her W, essentially. And her ultimate is a large AoE field stun that lingers with dart damage afterwards. And the stun is actually pretty nice. Illaoi gains health regen near her tentacles and scales off of duration. Her E is a tentacle slam that knocks up anything that is caught within its path. And her ultimate is a Illaoi ultimate, but with a lot more tentacles. Plus, with her synergistic nature of her passive, any allies that are within that ultimate gain the health regen that Illaoi gains. So, if you're playing with an Illaoi, stick by her. She's actually very useful. Briar scales off of HP. The lower the HP she has, the more damage she deals, and she becomes faster. Blood Frenzy gives damage reduction and heals for missing % health on an explosion afterwards. And her ultimate, that's her ultimate. Puts it on steroids, and I'll be honest, there have been plenty of times where I've been stuck on certain maps, so I decided to pull out Briar, and it's a cakewalk. Briar makes this game easy, and she's really fun to play, so I'd recommend. Yasuo scales off of crit. What a surprise. His E is his dash that grants a shield and invincibility frames, and his ult is Wind Wall of all things. However, Wind Wall doesn't just block projectiles, it also blocks the movement of enemies, making so if you need to clear out some space and block an area off, you can. Making Yasuo surprisingly versatile, especially if you're struggling in the early game with him. His low cooldowns make it so he can constantly cast his abilities, making it so he can get him and his team out of sticky situations if required. Riven scales off of movement speed. The more movement speed you have, the more attacks she can perform. E is her shield and her stun. 2 in 1, it's great. Her ult grants her movement speed, and wind slashes in every attack she performs with her signature weapon. Riven also has innate CC built in, thanks to her signature weapon, because every second cast is a knockup. And her evolution makes it so it echoes that effect, so it knocks up twice. Xayah scales off a pickup radius. Her passive grants her 1000 pickup radius alongside all pickups being considered projectiles. Provides an attack speed steroid and extra projectiles after 200 pickups. Her E is Blade Cooler on steroids, and her ult is her AoE Blade Storm that resets E's cooldown. Plus, it has its rooting effect. So if you are able to get things going, you can really get things going with her. Aurora scales off of experience. Passive makes it so she summons a spirit every 7 levels to help. Attacks enemies, slows, and marks them with Hex. I can't explain Hex very well, you'll just have to play her to figure it out. Her E grants her invulnerability for 2.5 seconds, and her ult is her ult from the Rift on steroids. Every single time you bounce, you actually commit a knockup. Aurora is a hard one to explain. She's weird, but she's fun, so you just have to play her to figure out how she works. But each character has their own signature weapons. They scale off of their respective stats for each character, as I've just stated. So if you build accordingly, and you build well, and you build optimally, you'll see massive success with that character. Or you can build unoptimally and be funny about it. Really, it's entirely your choice. So how do I feel about this mode? From my perspective, it's nice seeing Riot branching out and making new game modes again thanks to the success of things such as Soul Arena. While League will forever be known as a cesspit filled to the brim with the scum and villainy of the PC gaming underworld, the new game modes break away from the monotony that is Summoner's Rift and ARAMs. I hope Riot do continue on this path, as it's shown that when they decide to make something that is just mindless fun instead of focusing on competitive integrity constantly, it provides a much more positive experience in League of Legends of all games. Even if it's just a single case of League actually being a good game. Which, I'm gonna be real with you guys, never happens. This game sucks. do not play it. Anyway, enough of my contradictory statements. I'm gonna go back to doing things such as playing my Gears of War, playing Roblox of all things, and thinking up of a new script idea to write up and share. Until next time, guys, this has been Azura, and I am signing out. Later, everybody.